Welcome. The classic 50-20-30 rule says save 20%. But what if your rent plus groceries already eat most of your paycheck? So now we have a new idea that is in town, the 65-20-15 rule. A newer, more realistic budgeting split most people in high cost or inflation hit economies are using. So today I'll break down what it is, how it's different, who should use it, and the exact steps to implement it. Plus, I'll share some hidden risks if you pick the wrong rule for your situation. So remember, I want to show you how you're going to save 10k plus by just following the right rule according to your situation. So I will start by demystifying the 65-20-15 rule. Let me give you a simple example. Picture a pie. So you cut your money pie into three slices. 65% you allocate it to your needs, that is for rent, food, transport, insurance, or minimum debt payments. Then 20% goes to your wants, like eating out, travel, subscription, gadgets. Then 15% goes towards savings or investment, or even debt acceleration. Like it can go to your payment towards your retirement accounts, your brokerage investing, emergency fund, or extra debt pay down because you want to be debt free. But the reality is this 65-20-15 rule is not a long standing standard like the 50-20-30 rule. It's just a practical adaptation to cope with the higher fixed costs while hitting at least 15% towards long term wealth. On the other hand, the 50-20-30 rule, popularized by Elizabeth Warren, says that you should allocate 50% to your needs, 20% should go towards your savings or investment, and 30% should go to your wants. So, this one is widely cited by authoritative figures in the finance world. But it's good to do a side by side comparison so that you can understand why this new rule, the 65-20-15 rule, is gaining popularity. I love using simple examples so that you can understand. We can work with a month take home of, let's say, $3,000. So this is how you will split your money. The first column is the rule, the classic rule, the 50-20-30 rule, or the new 65-20-15 rule. Then the second column stands for your needs. Okay. If you're working with the 50-20-30 rule, you will allocate 1500 towards your needs. But for the 65-20-15 rule, you will allocate more than that, which is 1950. Okay? Then we move to the next column, which is your wants. Interestingly, if you are working with the 50-20-30 rule, you would have more change to spend on your wants, unlike the 65-20-15 rule. You would have $900 for wants if you are working with the former, while you only have $600 if you choose to go with the latter, which is the 65-20-15 rule. Do you see? For the savings and investments column, you have less to save or invest if you're working with the 65-20-15 rule. Out of your $3,000 take home, you would only have a total of $450 to save or invest. For the 50-20-30 rule, it was $600 to invest. So for the last column, I've shown you that we are working just with a total of $3,000. So what jumps out? The 65-20-15 rule gives you more room for higher living costs because you can cover your needs plus an extra 450 compared to the classic rule. But you have to note this. You will save or invest less each month while working with the 65-20-15 rule, unless you intentionally increase the 15% later. This is the trade off you must manage. Financial freedom is what should linger in your mind. Therefore, should you consider the 65-20-15 rule? If you live in a high cost city, it means your rent plus your food plus your transport will amount to greater than 50% of your income. You can't do without the basic necessities. You need the money to survive. Also, consider the 65-20-15 rule if you are in a lower earning phase and 20% savings is not realistic yet. You can't allocate as much as 20% to go to savings. But you refuse to drop below 15% on savings, which is a good baseline for retirement. In addition, if you can do with a tight ones category, then you can choose this rule because at least it allows you to have some fun money so that you don't binge spend later because you need balance. Otherwise, without balance, it will throw you off again. Bottom line, the 65-20-15 rule is a bridge rule. It keeps you in the game, saving at least 15% while you aggressively work on increasing income, cutting your fixed costs, and later you can increase your savings above 15%. But who probably shouldn't go for the 65-20-15 rule? If you can already comfortably hit the 20% plus on savings, don't lower it to 15%. No, don't do that. The math of financial freedom favors higher savings rates. Okay? That's the entire fire gospel. Financial independence, retire early. Also, if your ones are already very low, then to boost wealth faster, push the extra to savings. The important rule is automating a high enough savings rate. And this is how you start making the 10K plus in your savings. Okay? Remember, if you are choosing a high yield savings account and it has the compounding effect, the more you save, the more money you make. Every day, if you save some money, you make more money on the higher amount that you save. So it's making you money every day, every day, every day because of compounding. Let's discuss the key differences that matter beyond the percentages. Okay? Like, let's discuss about psychology and sustainability. The 65-20-15 rule acknowledges that many people can't realistically get needs down to 50% today. It reduces guilt, it increases adherence, and prevents abandoning budgeting altogether. Like, you don't have to feel guilty because I cannot adhere to the 50-20-30 rule. You see? But the 50-20-30 rule is clean, it's easy, it's proven, it's popular. But remember, it's unrealistic in high inflation or high rent environments, causing people to quit. So we don't. The issue is you should not quit on good financial planning or budgeting to reach the goal of financial freedom. No. Secondly, retirement adequacy. Because 15% savings aligns with the minimum retirement guideline. If you start saving less, it means you may take longer. Okay? And also, a high interest debt or fire goals, the 15% may be too low. Remember, we are working towards financial freedom. I hope you can understand the points. And if I'm going too fast, just you can rewind and so that you understand what I'm saying. Okay? Then, to finish off, the speed to financial freedom. If you have 20% savings, you get there faster if you can maintain it because you are saving more. It means you're enjoying compounding more. It means your money is making more money. But if you have the 15% savings, like the 65-20-15 rule, it keeps you afloat. Okay, you don't stop budgeting at all, you don't stop saving, but you need a plan. You need an escalator plan. Like, for example, you can say, you will increase 2% on savings with every raise you get, every bonus you get. You need a plan so that you can reach your goals. At this point, it's good to point out the benefits of the 65-20-15 rule. It's not all that bad. That is, if you can do it right. At least if you follow the 65-20-15 rule, it's a realistic entry point because you don't say, I won't budget. I have too much to cater for. So it can't fit into 50%, the classic rule. So I won't budget. I'll just eat everything. No. At least with the 65-20-15 rule, you say, I will still budget, but I will still allocate some to savings. So number two is you at least you have the guaranteed baseline savings, the 15% long-term wealth target. You maintain it with the 65-20-15 rule. Also, if you can do it tight once, then it's better off you do with the tight ones, you enjoy later. You direct the extra to investments that can generate you more income, more money. You see how you're generating more money on the little money that you have? And also, if you're using the 65-20-15 rule, it's easier to scale up. You start with the 15%. But then, as you get a raise, as you get a bonus, you automatically bumped it to 17%, then 20%, then 25%, like that, and until you get to a good point that is placing you on the path to financial freedom, to your long term wealth target. So, I've covered the good, but what is the bad of the 65-20-15 rule? What are the risks? You may retire later with less income security. Remember, you were saving less. So, especially if you start saving late, or you earn below market returns, or you face higher healthcare housing costs in retirement, you will face income insecurity later in life. Also, if you're working with the 65-20-15 rule, debt pay down may be slower because you have less amount of money to allocate to debt pay down. But then you should aim to be debt free in retirement. Also remember, inflation eats more of your future. So the earlier and higher your savings rate, the better. So if you delay increasing the 15% to a good baseliner, inflation is eating up your future. Because if you can put more money towards savings and investments earlier, it means it's making more money for you earlier. You see? That's why if you are working with the principle of FIRE, financial independence, retire early, you should target 30 to 60% savings rate. So there you have it. By now, your numbers should be running through your head so that you see where you fall and you pick wisely because you're working towards financial freedom. So, I want to share some ideas on how to implement the 65-20-15 rule. I'll work with a monthly take home of $3,200. Okay. So, step one, you will auto split your paycheck the moment it lands. So 65% will go to needs. That will be $2,080. $640, that is 20%, will go to your wants. Then 15% will go to savings or investing. That will be like $480. So for instance, you can allocate 300 to your retirement account and 180 to an emergency fund or brokerage, okay? So remember to use automatic transfers so that this thing can work for you. Number two, because you don't want to stick at 15% forever, you need to escalate it. Make sure you escalate your savings automatically. Every raise or bonus, add 2% to your savings rate until you hit and exceed the 20%. Put a recurring calendar reminder. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. You want to enjoy. You don't want to regret later. Also, you can cap your wants at 20% with the hardline. Just create a separate fund account. When it's empty, you stop. You don't dip your hands into money that is meant to budget to go to other things that is budgeted elsewhere. If money in your fund account is low, then you stop. Number four, prioritize high interest debt inside the 15%. Now, I did an episode explaining APR. Please check out my episode so that you understand. But important to note is that if your credit card APR is 20%, make debt payden pay down the first use of your 15%, okay? Because if it is high, it means you are losing more money. And if you're losing more money, you are cutting a huge chunk from the 10k plus you're supposed to be making, okay? So if you focus on debt pay down, you will win in the end. So focus on debt pay down, then switch to investing once high interest debt is gone. So first is remove the debt because it's eating you up. Then you switch to investing. Okay? Then number 5, make sure you track and negotiate your needs. What can you save on? What can you cut down on? Maybe you can shop around for a better rate for insurance, or you can refinance debt, or you can switch your mobile plans, or you can do meal plan to cut out expensive groceries, shopping all the time. You can negotiate rent. Any percentage you win from the needs, you shift it to savings so that your savings can compound and make you more money. Therefore, which one will you choose? I would love to hear which one you would go for. Remember, if you enjoy and get value from such financial information or videos, you can like the video so you can come back every time I post a new episode. Also, check out my other episodes that may be of benefit to gaining financial literacy. So tell me, which one will you choose? 65-20-15 or 50-20-30? Tell me down in the comment section. So, in conclusion, if you can save 20% now, 50-20-30 likely gets you to freedom faster. It's simple, it's widely supported, and pushes a higher savings rate, which means you can make more money. But if your needs are already 60 to 70%, rent, food, transport, you can't do without that. And because of the rising cost of living, all this has exploded. 65-20-15 is a sane starting point. Just treat 15% as the floor, not the ceiling. Like it's the least amount that you can save. Don't go below 15 because we are working towards financial freedom. So treat it as the floor, not as the ceiling. Then build an automatic escalator to 20%, 25%, 30%, or even more as your income grows. You think of ways to increase your income because what can we do?